Tonight on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, we try to investigate the chaos that is Twitter for the NFL Draft. It's time for Garbage Time. Guys, welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. We are 10 days away from the draft, and we are joined tonight by Ryan and, as always, the ghost of Ron Seymour. How are we doing tonight, guys?
I'm doing good. I'm curious to see how Ron Seymour is doing. He always seems to have the same vibe going, but
Ron, how you doing?
I knew it.
Yep, same vibe. Always the same tone too. He always gives good advice, but always on the same tone. It's the weirdest shit you'd ever seen. Guys, JJ and Ron will be back next week for the Sabotage mock draft. We are doing that on Monday and Tuesday. It is like a holiday around here where we do a regular mock draft, but we each get a Sabotage to interrupt the draft process for each one of us and instill some chaos in it. And then we have a point value chart for it that we do during the draft, and we tally it up and see who wins through the chaos. Ryan, you looking forward to that?
Oh, I'm absolutely looking forward to it. You know, it's, as you know, I think I get thrown for the biggest loop with the sabotagers, so it's usually stressful for me, but it's a fun time. It's all in good fun. It's a nice little friendly / not super friendly competition we get to have with each other, and it always makes the draft more exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely not a friendly competition because you think you've made a genius pick or a genius trade, and then all of a sudden you're not allowed to take that draft pick. So
we get to be frenemies for two episodes in a row.
Yeah, guys, and that's going to be next Monday and Tuesday. So if you want to see a not very effective mock draft where we're just looking to survive the NFL draft, Monday, Tuesday are going to be your show. So without further ado, let's get into the news.
News updates.
Guys, if you like the shit that we spew here on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, don't be afraid to like and subscribe to the show here on YouTube. And you can also listen to us in audio forms on Spotify, Apple, Google, TuneIn, Iheartradio. And you can also listen to us at www.garbagetimeff.com, where you can also leave us voicemails and hate mails that we will play live in the show and answer their questions. First little bit of news that I have for us tonight, Ryan, is that Jeremy Fowler is reporting Malik Willis is in the mix for the number 2 pick for the Lions. Do you believe this rumor going forward?
No. I'm going to say no.
How about you answer the question? I didn't sabotage you yet.
Do I think that Malik Willis goes number 2?
Do you think he's at least in the mix for the number 2 pick?
I don't think so. I don't. No. Nope. I think. Oh, Sua's back.
Sua's back in the comments? Let's see what this guy's got to say to us.
Happy to see you. And yeah, I agree.
Daily appearance from Sua kind of fucked the Chiefs, he says. I'm guessing this has to do with the Tyreek Hill trade many weeks ago. But Sua, thanks for letting us know about it. Definitely join us for the Sabotage mock draft next week if you want to laugh your ass off. Two reasons only, he says. What do you got for us, Sua? Anyway, what were we saying about Malik Willis?
I guess he could be in the midst. Like, I shouldn't say he's not in the midst, but I just don't think that's where the Lions go.
Yeah, I kind of am leaning this way that there may be a trade at that spot, or they may end up picking him because they're trying to get him into their facility to get a last look at him. I don't know if this is because they want to make the appearance that they may be picking him and they may want to get someone in to trade for that spot, or if it's that they actually have legitimate interest here. My interest is definitely peaked here. I don't know if he'll end up being the pick or not, but I think it's something we should actually discuss over the next week.
That might be kind of smart on their end if the Saints or the Steelers are really looking at him and the Lions are like, oh, well, we might do it. Might be able to get them to jump up to try to get him.
Sua, you said you're a Chargers fan. We've always been under the impression you were a Chiefs fan. So Fuck Patty Mahomes. At least you cleared that up for us.
I know he's a Chargers fan. I knew that, Sua. I know you.
I definitely did not know that. Make sure you like tonight's show and, tell your friends about the Sabotage Mock Draft next week.
I remember the small details.
All right. Jeff Duncan of NOLA.com believes that Kenny Pickett could be the New Orleans Saints guy in round 1. Anything to this as well?
I could see it. I always thought that they might prefer Malik Willis, but I think a lot of what I read had Kenny Pickett. They think he might be one of the more quarterback ready, pro ready, to play that position sooner. They think Malik Willis would probably at least need a redshirt year, but I could see it. I could see it going either way, honestly.
Sua and anyone else from the Heckling fandom that's watching the show tonight too. We are doing a fact and crap segment for Twitter draft rumors. When we get out of the news here too, if you've heard any rumors that you'd like our opinions on to see if we think that they're fact or crap, put them right in the comments too. We'll put them up in the show and you guys can play along with us. We picked 5 or 6 for each other that we're going to go back and forth on, but we'd love to get them in during that segment. So feel free to throw them down in the comments too. Next little bit of news we have here. The Athletic says that Baker Mayfield is not the only guy on the Panthers list. This seems to be the fact, right?
Yeah, I was hearing they were inquiring on Jimmy G. They were kind of dabbling in that pool a little bit as well.
Okay. Do you think he'd have a lot of fantasy relevance there with the Panthers, or not really?
I don't know. Probably not. Yeah.
Let's let Sua interject here again. Sua says best quarterback in the league is Herbert, best running back is Eckler, best wide receivers are Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, best strong safety is Derwin James. I do believe that. Best defensive player in the league, Joey Bosa. He's definitely up there. You guys are stacked, and I've actually got an early bet on FanDuel for the Chargers to win the Super Bowl. So I don't know if I'll cash out on that early or if I'll try to ride them all the way to the Super Bowl. They're my early favorite, my father's favorite team too. So it's nice to know that there's actually another Chargers fan out there. I didn't think they existed. Next little bit of news that we have here is quarterback James Bradbury did not report to the start of offseason workouts. There's a lot of players not returning right now. What's your thoughts on this? Are they going to trade him during the draft?
I don't know. Did they? What's his reason? Is he just holding out?
I believe that they were talking about potentially trading him, and he didn't like the talk of that in this offseason. He's projected to be worth more than $20 million over the cap. So I don't know if it just is the fact that he doesn't like that team, the direction it's heading, or if he didn't like the rumors that were floating out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he stays.
Okay, we'll talk about another defensive player here too. I understand this is a fantasy football show, guys, but we are in the slow part of the season, so bear with us. Defensive players matter, even in DST formats. Jadeveon Clowney is expected to re-sign with the Browns, even though it will not be before the draft. It's probably because he doesn't want to be in off-season workouts. Do you fully expect him to re-sign with the Browns?
Yeah, and I think the Browns might be looking to clear up some extra cap space on their end and stuff. You know, that they can unload Baker, things like that. So I think they're just looking to do a little bit of house cleaning before.
I would 100% agree with that too. Jarvis Landry is also expected to wait until after the draft to sign with the team. And reading in the little segments of this too, absurdly enough, he seems to be asking for $20 million a year. Is this an absolute ridiculous ask from him? Do you think he's going to settle for a lesser price?
Typically, I feel like yes, but then you just saw the wide receiver contracts this year that were just insane. So I guess, honestly, it seems like the sky's the limit for what these wide receivers can ask this offseason.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. If Christian Kirk's worth $21 million, 21 to 23, depending on the year.
Exactly.
Isn't Jarvis Landry worth $20 million?
Exactly. It's so inflated right now that I think that's why you see Deebo, McLaurin, AJ Brown, they're making a smart move. Jump on the gravy train while it's still going and teams have money because the salaries this year are nuts.
Yeah, we'll get into that little news segment here just in a second too. I want to touch on one more thing with him. Is there any potential for him to get this kind of a salary, or is the money just going to run out after the draft where there's no potential for it anymore? Is he going to have to settle for something less and maybe go back and play with Cleveland?
I think he settles for less. It might end up being a more of a short-term contract, maybe a prove it kind of thing, or maybe it's heavily incentive based.
Do you see a location where he may end up playing? Do you think it'll be back with Cleveland? I've heard that rumor. Do you think there's another team that may sign him?
I would say probably back for Cleveland.
Go play with his new $230 million quarterback?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, it'd be good for his fantasy value, I think. I would personally like to see him in that spot, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting because we'll have to see what the Browns do and other teams that miss out on wide receivers do, which I don't think many teams will miss out on them. There's a ton in this draft, and they're going to think that they have their perceived guy, I think.
That's why I'm surprised to see Jarvis Landry waiting until after the draft. I mean, I guess what would help is even if a team drafts some of these rookie guys, like they'll be cheap to start, so a team might still have money, but some teams, like you just said, are going to feel like they got their guy in the draft and not really have an interest in signing a $20 million wide receiver.
Yeah, exactly. There was also a report based on an interview that was done with Antonio Gibson. He said he expects to remain in committee with J.D. McKissic this year. Do you think this is an absolute mistake by the Washington Commanders? It seems that they're laying all the cards out here for that team. And is this going to destroy his fantasy value, especially in dynasty formats where you're going to be potentially looking to draft him in startups right now?
As a Gibson owner, I hate it because they seem so hesitant to let him go, like just let him get hot and run with him. They keep wanting to do the committee thing. That's why I was kind of excited to see McKissic leaving, and then he chose to stay. And I don't know if it's because the Commanders are worried about how injury prone he is, if they want to keep McKissic active, and keep him in the game, keep him taking snaps and stuff. So yeah, it sucks, but I definitely see them doing a committee again.
All right. What is Antonio Gibson's upside now that he's going to be in that committee with J.D. McKissic? Is it going to be the same? Is it going to be different now that Carson Wentz is there? What's the outlook?
That's tough. I'm going to say the same because like Carson Wentz, he's coming from the Colts where they had Jonathan Taylor. So Carson Wentz is used to being with a heavy run team. So I could still see them using the run quite a bit. I think it helps McKissic's value in the receiving role though, for sure. So yeah, that's what I think Gibson stays the same though. I think he'll probably be like, I don't know, top 12, top 15.
Potentially. Let's answer Sue's question here too before we get into a little bit more of the news. His question is do you think Derek Stingley Jr. will end up going to the Bolts? Well, that would bolster their secondary. I honestly don't think Derek Stingley Jr. is going to make it to the Bolts, at least in any draft that I've got. There was one draft where I had them drafting Chris Olave at wide receiver. That was my last mock draft. So going deep at the wide receiver position, giving your young quarterback as many weapons as they could have. But there was also them taking another offensive lineman, the one from Northern Iowa. His name is escaping me. Is a guard center.
I think we both had, when we mocked together, we had them taking Trevor Penning.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, Trevor Penning.
I feel the same way. I think they go offensive line here.
Well, when I was watching Trevor Penning, on all the recap and all the experts on YouTube who were underlaying him, he's highly aggressive. He's versatile. You can play him at two positions he can help with the Chargers. And those defenses in that division are getting a little bit stronger too. So you want to beef up that line in places where you've lost it a little bit. So I think Trevor Penning would be the perfect fit for them. And I think the ideal fit for you. Stingley is interesting from the fact that he was immensely talented in his freshman year. And he could have won the Heisman as a quarter his freshman year. That's how well he played. But then he was kind of a letdown the next 2 years, whether that was because of injury or a change in the style of defense. So Stingley is an interesting prospect for this year.
Yeah, and looking really quick at yours mock, we had him going 5 picks earlier at number 12 to the Vikings. So we had him going a little bit earlier than when the Chargers will be up to bat.
And I think that's been a very common spot where many people have mocked him. There's a good chance that in the sabotage mock draft, he will not be mocked there because someone may tell us we can't fucking pick him in that spot. Sue also says, if you think I'm talking about the Colts, I am not. I thought I heard you say the Colts.
Yeah, I think you said the Bolts.
I said the Bolts, not the Colts. He's hearing my upstate jargon. All right, next little bit of news that we've got here too. We'll talk about the 3 wide receivers that did not show up for voluntary workouts at this point of the offseason. It was DK Metcalf. There was Terry McLaurin. And what is the one I am missing, Ryan? Deebo Samuel?
Deebo and AJ Brown.
Yeah. So why don't you go into this segment for me a little bit? What's the reason why these guys aren't showing up? And from 1 to 4, what's the most realistic chances that they won't be on their team next year? Or do you see all of them being on their teams next year?
Yeah. So basically, all of those guys are set to make an average of like $2 million this year. Yet they've established themselves as Pro Bowl wide receiver ones. So they saw all these big contracts getting signed, and now they want to get paid instead of playing for $2 million next year and risk being injured in their contract year. So they're pushing to get paid. Honestly, AJ Brown, I think, definitely gets signed.
I do too.
I think Deebo gets signed. He was the team, basically.
Yeah. He's the reason they were in the playoffs. They may not have even made it to the playoffs if he wasn't on that team.
The only one that I'm like 50-50 on whether he's on the team or gets traded is Terry McLaurin.
Mm-hmm. You know what's interesting about that is AJ Brown is also taking a playbook now out of the Deebo Samuel playbook and the Kyler Murray playbook, which is taking his team off Instagram because they are not paying him. So AJ Brown has done the same thing. Deebo has done the same thing. The only one here that hasn't is Terry McLaurin. He just seems to do things quietly, and I don't know if that's cognizant of what the Commanders are going to do, but I could see him. You're saying he may not be on the team past the season. I think he may get paid first out of all of these guys. They need good headlines.
They do need some positive press. Like if I was them, I would be re-signing him. Get some good headlines out there. Make your fan base something to be happy about. Because there hasn't been much to be thrilled about coming out of there lately.
Absolutely. All right. Speaking of people getting the bag, not wide receivers, how about corners? What do you think about Denzel Ward's 5-year, $100.5 million contract?
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, he's a solid player. Does that make him the highest paid?
Highest paid corner? I believe we already discussed one that is a bigger cap hit this year. Bradbury, at least for the year. I don't believe that'll make him because that puts him at about $20 million a year, and I believe the Chargers actually signed J.C. Jackson to a bigger contract. Correct?
I think it's solid for them. They just locked up a proven defensive player for several years.
Hey, Chargers fan, what was the contract J.C. Jackson got? I know he got a pretty big one. You probably know that. Anyway, continue, Ryan.
So yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, I mean he's actually a great corner. He's definitely top 5 in the league. He gets to stay home there with the Cleveland Browns. They seem to just be finding money everywhere to pay everyone except Jarvis Landry, apparently. So yeah, he's a hometown grown talent that gets to stay.
Is 5 years, $82.5 million.
So this is actually a bigger contract than J.C. Jackson. That's impressive. So yeah, the homegrown talent gets paid very well, and he always seems to do things right. So I think there's not many people more deserving to get a nice contract. Andy Reid says that the team will not run a different offense, more significantly different, even with Tyreek Hill gone. Do you believe that's actually the truth, or is that a smokescreen? Are they going to have to change this offense significantly to work someone like Juju into this offense differently, or is it just going to run just how Patrick Mahomes has run it?
You're going to have to do something a little bit different. I mean, you're not going to have a guy that runs 24 miles an hour down the sideline anymore. I mean, there's going to be some type of difference, I feel like, whether that's, yards after the catch or, the bombs that Tyreek Hill's able to catch. I mean, they've definitely gotten some taller guys now, which I think will help. I saw an interview with Patrick Mahomes mentions that. But something you're going to have to alter a little bit. Do I think it's going to be shockingly different? No. It's going to be basically the same thing, but there's going to be some small changes.
Is Patrick Mahomes going to suffer in fantasy football with Tyreek Hill gone, or is this going to have no effect on him?
I think he's still going to be a top quarterback.
So you would still take him in the top 3?
Probably.
I imagine Josh Allen and Sua's boy would be in that category.
Yep.
Okay. James O'Shaughnessy signed with the Bears. Is there anything fantasy significant here?
I feel like nothing on the Bears is fantasy significant.
That is true. They are rebuilding. And JJ had the same sentiment moving on and crossing that off my list. Last little bit of news I have here, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I'm just getting more of a laugh out of it, was the Jags offensive coordinator, Press Taylor, says that Evan Ingram will create mismatches in 2022, and he thinks he's a good weapon for the team. What is he smoking? Because obviously he hasn't watched Evan Ingram play the last few years.
Yeah, they better work on those concrete hands. I don't know. You gotta work on the drops.
Sue's got some words of confidence for us. He says, "Hey, I just want to let you guys know you will make it to 10K subs in the next year or less. Trust me, keep grinding and keep doing what you're doing." Thanks, Sue. You're one of the original heckling fandom, and we'd love to absolutely get there. So get the show out, put it out on Twitter for us and stuff. And if you'd ever like to come on a show or leave us more questions or voicemails, feel free to do it. We'd love to answer any questions you guys have and get the show more interactive with the fans too. So Ryan, without further ado, are you ready to get into the chaos that is the Twitterverse?
Yeah, I got some trade rumors ready.
Yeah, I got some ready for you too. Sue, feel free to drop some at the bottom if you have some too. All right, so the way that we're going to do this too is this is a fact or crap session where we are going to give a user's rumor from Twitter, because this is the time of the year, 10 days before the draft, where there's so many rumors out there for the NFL draft. You don't know what's real and what's fake. Teams are putting smoke out there. Fans are putting smoke out there. People are just trying to get clicks. So we thought we'd pick a few of our favorites on Twitter and ask the opposing person if we think they're true. So if you happen to be watching the show right now too, feel free to drop some down on the bottom too, if there's some from Twitter or anywhere else for that matter of fact that you think you'd like to be answered by, two of the most active hosts of Garbage Time Fantasy Football lately. So Ryan, feel free to go into those two drops, the fact or crap drop, and I will let you ask your question first.
All right. So, and I also have my notes, so I'll give you my thoughts on my rumors once you answer. Okay. So I've seen this both ways. Panthers trading up to snag a quarterback from number 6, or the Panthers trading down out of number 6.
Well, my opinion on that is this rumor is absolute crap. They are not going to trade out of that number 6 spot. Then they are now also not going to trade up for a quarterback too, because there is a lot of other needs in that defense. So they're not going to be in that situation to trade up, and I really do not think they will trade back either. I think they will pick from that spot and wait for what falls to them. What falls to them is to be determined in the Sabotage mock draft for next week. So no, this is absolute crap.
Yeah, so for me, I thought them trading up absolutely out of the question. They're sitting at number 6. They don't have any capital to trade with, really. They don't have, after the first, they don't have another pick till the 4th. So I don't know what they would be giving to be able to move up. As far as trading down, I guess for me, that depends on how seriously they're looking at Baker and Jimmy G. Mm-hmm. I wonder, I could almost see if they snagged one of them before the draft. I could almost see them trading out of that pick. But I still don't love it. But I think it's more likely they trade down than that they trade up. I think them trading up is absolutely not going to happen.
All right, so now we'll go on to my first rumor from Twitter. We're already on the topic of the Panthers, so I will drop in my rumor from the Panthers that I found on Twitter. This was from @WBister or Willie Brister. He says, the Panthers are more linked to Willis and Corral, also Riddler, as opposed to Kenny Pickett. Is this fact or crap?
Oof.
And that's a fact.
Ooh, I'm going to go fact.
Why is this a fact?
I am hearing rumors that Ritter has been killing it in his interviews, as well as doing film sessions with teams. His interest has definitely picked up. I could see Willis kind of does have that rushing ability that they might miss from Cam Newton. I definitely don't think he is Cam Newton, but I think that they might want some of that rushing ability back. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm leaning more towards fact on this one.
So you don't think that Kenny Pickett may not be their guy?
Agreed.
Okay. All right. What's your next rumor from Twitter?
My next one is Jameson Williams, top 10 pick.
Now this one I have struggled with for a while. But my initial feeling on that 10 days from the draft is...
And that's a fact.
Really?
I think he could go number 10 to the Jets. Honestly, I think they're assessing the talent of him potentially being a top 10 pick. I would not be shocked if Atlanta took him because they are in an absolute rebuild gear. They do not give a crap what their record is going to be this year. And he's the most talented wide receiver in this draft. I believe those Ohio State wide receivers are also very talented. This draft is very deep in the position. You have a lot of number twos, I think, in this draft, but the only true number one that I could see in the long-term distance is Jameson Williams. And I think teams are going to be willing to be patient with him. And the reason why I think the Jets may be able to take him at number 10 is they took 2 tight ends this offseason. They're going to play a lot of 2 tight end sets. They had 3 decent wide receivers that they can let him wait out and be healthy with. And like I said, he's got good long-term potential to be a number 1 wide receiver, which they were trying to make trades for all offseason. He's the number 1 talent. I think they're willing to be patient with him. I would like for them to take another wide receiver in round 2, should they take him because of the ACL concern. But as we've seen this offseason, teams don't really have concerns with the ACL like they used to. I mean, look at Godwin getting $60 million from the Bucs. It's just no longer a concern.
Yeah. My only thing was I almost want, if you're taking a top 10 guy, I almost thought teams would be looking for someone that have an immediate impact. But you bring up a good point with like the Jets, for example, might just be like, we're shooting for 2023 at this point, you know? So I'm on the fence.
Okay. It's an interesting thought you put to that. So my next Twitter rumor here comes from @DraftTalkLine. And @DraftTalkLine says, Jerry Jones wants to trade up in the NFL draft for an offensive lineman. The one he specifically was talking about is Evan Neal. Is this fact or crap, Ryan Warner?
Where are they pitching right now? 25?
Yes. I'll give you a moment to stew on that one. Oh, loaded crap, huh?
I'm going to say crap on that just because of how high they would have to, in my opinion, how high they would have to trade up to get Evan Neal. I think because I think both of us, I know I did, had Evan Neal going to the Texans at number 3. Mm-hmm. You had Evan Neal going at number 5 to the Giants. I don't know if either of those teams pull out of that if Evan Neal's there. I just think what the Cowboys, because to move from 25 all the way up to top 5, you're gonna have to give up a boatload.
I mean, I could see the 1-for-1 move up because they lost Lyle Collins this offseason because of their cap issues. But for what they would need to give up to move up for him, he would need to significantly fall. What do you think that point is in the draft that Evan Neal would need to fall for them to be able to move up to?
I think it'd have to fall. He would have to fall out of the top 10.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't see that happening. I don't believe with Evan Neal. Any mock draft that I've done, I haven't come up with a scenario where I've had him out of the top 10 yet.
Agreed.
So let's move on to your next rumor.
My next one's a twofer. All right.
Oof,
Number 1, the Lions have absolutely no interest in Thibodeaux. And there's some rumors floating around that people like thinking Thibodeaux might fall out of the top 5 because of character concerns.
Okay, so this is a 2-parter, huh?
Yep.
And that's a fact.
Well, you get a half-hearted answer here where the first part of that question, I believe, is a fact. I do not believe the Lions are interested in taking Kayvon Thibodeaux with the number 2 pick for the reason that apparently the head coach doesn't like him. And I do believe the beat reporters are talking about this. I don't think he fits the character of what they're looking to do. I kind of think they want, for lack of better terms, meatheads playing on defense, people that only bleed football. and not the modern day athlete, which may be interested in their brand, which they're all interested in their brand. They want to make money. So what's wrong with that? But I don't know. The Lions culture doesn't perceive me as one that would want to take on I'm going to say the thoughtfulness of Kayvon Thibodeaux, because I think he's got more interests than just outside of football. But that doesn't dictate that he couldn't have an absolutely fantastic career in the NFL. I mean, look at an intellectual like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's got outside interests, but he's had a great career. Will he fall out of the top 5? I absolutely believe he will not get past the Giants in the top 5. So that will not happen, and that is a load of crap.
It's worth mentioning in our mock together, you had the Giants taking Evan Neal at 5 and Kayvon Thibodeaux at 7.
Well, I'm on a different pattern this week.
And not to be boring, but I pretty much agree with your sentiment. I think the Lions don't take him just because of what's going to be available at the number 2 pick. If the Jags throw a curveball at everyone and take Trayvon Walker, like the Giants are going to take Aiden Hutchinson. I feel like that's a no-brainer.
What was it?
I said that I definitely don't think they take Thibodeaux because even if the Jags take like Trayvon Walker or something, I see the Lions taking Aiden Hutchinson.
That's so funny that you mentioned those players. Go ahead and finish your thought, and then I'll go into my next rumor.
As far as him falling out of the top 5 because of character concerns, I do think that's kind of like a smoke screen. I did have him going at 4, so it's not like top 5's that out of the question, but a lot of them are saying he's too worried about his brand, blah, blah, blah. But it'd be really good for his brand playing well when he's in the NFL. So
yeah,
who cares if he cares about his brand a lot? That's going to make him motivated to play really well in the NFL. So I don't really see how that's an issue.
This just since the beginning of this, it's always felt like teams are blowing the smoke so he falls further down draft boards. And I honestly believe that. I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets or Giants are 2 of the teams pushing this narrative because they desperately want him.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't shock me.
I think if he falls to that 4 or 5 range, you definitely see the Jets or the Giants take him.
Well, let me give you an example, because me being the biased Jets fan that I am, I look at all of their reports, and as of Friday, there's rumors floating around that they had an absolutely fantastic meeting with him last Friday, and they absolutely love him. So, but on the other hand, you're hearing rumors about them potentially going other ways, like the Florida State outside linebacker too. They said they've done thorough work on him too. So there's direct and redirect from every team in the league right now. They do not want other teams knowing what they're doing in the draft, and they want to elevate their pick and get as much value as they can if they trade it out. So you're not going to know exactly what's true, what's bullshit, and what narratives they're putting out there. And I think Thibodeaux is the kind of player where teams see him as very talented, and they want him to fall down the board to them a little bit.
Yep.
All right, so you already mentioned Aiden Hutchinson here. It's kind of interesting, too, because I found him on a Twitter rumor. So The Line US reports, everything facts on Twitter. There is a growing rumor that Aiden Hutchinson will not be the first overall pick. So you don't have to tell us what's going to happen to your sabotage mock draft next week. You still got 10 days to decide that. But your sentiment right now, is there a chance that Aiden Hutchinson won't be the first overall pick? Is that fact or crap?
Oof.
And that's a fact.
I'm saying this
wow.
solely because it's the frickin' Jaguars, and if something's they just do shit. And I think Aiden Hutchinson's the no-brainer pick. I think some people are trying to make their mocks a little bit different, so they're throwing Trayvon Walker in there. I truly think he goes Aiden Hutchinson, but it's the Jaguars, so who the heck knows?
I've heard rumors about Trayvon Walker because the Jaguars pick players on measurables and not on stats. Aiden Hutchinson shows good on both, so I don't know how that would relate to the measurables, but I've heard a lot of other analysts who say Walker could potentially be the best outside linebacker in this draft. Honestly, he scares me a bit. I don't know exactly what to think of him. I like the measurables, but who honestly knows? And I've heard even rumors of them taking offensive line as early as late last week. So it's just a very interesting sentiment with this team, and I don't think you can count anyone out with the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's a reason why they're picking number 1 for the second year in a row.
Right.
All right. What is your fourth rumor for the heckling fandom?
It's my fifth. My Thibodeaux was a twofer. I double dipped it.
Ooh, it's okay. I've got some more extra ones, so we'll go through my 7 that we have then.
So my final one is that the Giants absolutely love offensive lineman Charles Cross, and that they've shown more interest in him than any other team.
So, honestly, I'm saying this is crap for the reason I believe they're interested in all 3 offensive linemen. They're not just interested in Charles Cross here. Listen, Ike Ekwonu, Evan Neal, and Charles Cross are the top 3 offensive linemen in this draft. They're not just looking at Charles Cross. I don't believe he is their favorite, and I think they want to have other people slide down the board. I think Ike Ekwonu and Evan Neal are their 1 and 2. In draft day scenarios, do I think that they could potentially take Charles Cross? Yes, I do. I think there's a strong potential they could end up potentially taking him, whether they trade one of those picks, whether he falls to them at 7. But I don't think that 5th pick is really in line with him. They would need to see the first 2 offensive linemen taken and some strange variety where 2 outside linebackers or defensive end, depending on the format that they're playing, are taken. It's just equating to what's taken in front of you and what you're looking to fill. There's a lot of needs on that team. They could look safety, corner, and a plethora of other positions. No, so I don't believe he is their top target for offensive linemen. I think there's 2 offensive linemen that they like better. They just are looking to redirect here or potentially looking for a team to come up and trade for him.
Yeah, so almost I had the exact same things as you. I think if it gets them at number 5 and Icky or Evan and Neal are available and they stay at that spot, I think that they take him. But the only significance this report has to me is, does it indicate a willingness to trade back and to a position where they think Cross will be available?
That could potentially happen too, and that'll be interesting to see if one of us come up with that genius scenario in our sabotage mock draft, and then one of the other people problem with that scenario. Next rumor I have for you, Ryan, I kind of cheated here and went to Adam Schefter's Twitter, but this is a rumor he kind of put out there and developed. Adam Schefter reported USC Drake London, a projected first-round pick, conducted a full positional workout at his pro day despite his ankle injury. Drake has been cleared to take part in football activities for teams in the draft at this time. But the rumor here is that he didn't run at the combine and he didn't run at the pro day. Is he fully ready to play for teams in this draft, or is this fact or crap?
And that's a fact.
Okay, why?
I'm going to say this solely because I think he will be ready to play. Now, being ready to play and back to 100% are 2 different things. Maybe he's worried he's going to be a little bit slower and he doesn't want that to reflect on his 40 time at the combine or the pro day. So I do think he will be ready to play. Whether he's at 100% speed is, I think, a different question. And it's worth mentioning, though, from April to September, that's several months. So that's a lot more time to rehab his ankle or whatever. So I'm sure he'll still be ready to play, but maybe it's just not 100% there yet where he felt comfortable putting on a speed show.
Should teams be concerned about that ankle, though, especially if he's not willing to run and show them that he can run on that ankle? It seems strange that he'll run football drills for teams, but not show him his speed.
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth teams kind of checking out and just getting a feel for whether, I wonder, does that make him fall further down the board to another team? Mm-hmm. I think I had him going at number 11. You had him falling all the way down to 21. Mm-hmm. So maybe that does put him maybe in the later first round. Okay.
We have a little bit of time here, so I'll go over the last 2 that I had in case you copied mine and found the same rumors on Twitter. So at Sports News Buzz comes up with an Eagles rumor. They said no one is ruling out Philly will take a wide receiver for the 30-year role in the first round. Is this fact or crap?
It's a good one.
And that's a fact.
You sure like that fact button tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a fact. I think they could definitely take a wide receiver. They it's no secret they kind of have a smaller wide receiver group, so maybe they try to go get some more size there. I believe you had a wide receiver going to them in our mock. I think you had Chris Olave.
Chris Olave, yeah.
Going there. So I definitely don't think it's worth ruling out. They kind of whiffed on their Aguilar pick a little bit.
A little bit.
So I'm being generous. So maybe they try to get that back.
Yeah, they whiffed on Aguilar. They've whiffed on Jalen Reagor. It's been a bad pass for them. And I think they may look to go another direction. So this is the bonus factor crap question. At PF Rumors is suggesting Tyler Lindenbaum, center from Iowa, may not hear his name called on the first night of the NFL draft. Is this factor crap, or is there something to this?
Ooh.
This is a big old pile of crap, huh?
I'm going to say crap, mainly because I had him going 14 to the Ravens. I think, at least in a lot of mocks I did, you've seen a pretty big premium placed on offensive linemen. That center position is important. I just don't see how 30 something teams could just let him pass through. So I am going to say that's a bunch of crap. I think he definitely gets taken in the first round.
I absolutely love this segment. This is a really fun one. So guys from the Heckling Fandom, if you want us to do more segments of factor crap, just leave questions in the comments. Leave them on our Instagram, Garbage Time Fantasy Football, or on Twitter at garbage_time FF. We'll be more than happy to answer these factor crap rumors from Twitter on the show, and we will make segments out of it out of the year. That was a lot of fun. We could potentially do it even before the draft, maybe sabotage mock draft if there's one or two that come up. It was just a really good segment, and I really enjoyed that. And guys, as we stated, next week is the freaking holiday for Garbage Time Fantasy Football. The Sabotage NFL Draft is next week. If you want to see a lot of pain and a lot of humor, join in for a format that we promise that you've never seen before, and you will absolutely enjoy doing with your friends year in and year out after that. Ryan, is there anything you've got to say to the Heckling Fandom before we get out of here? Actually, I've got one thought before we get out of here, too.
Hit it.
I just wanted to say, for Deebo Samuel, there's no freaking way, as you pointed out, that he's going to be leaving the 49ers. I don't care what they have to pay him. $25 million a year is worth Deebo Samuel because he will get your team to the freaking playoffs, and there's no reason why they would trade him. He was the best player on that team last year, and he's going to be the best player on that team going forward, and that's over George Kittle. I figured that was appropriate to say considering he was in the title of the show tonight.
1,400 receiving yards and averaging another 6 yards per carry on rushing. You have to sign that guy.
Absolutely. Ryan, is there anything you wanted to say to the Heckling Fandom before I brutally interrupted you before we get out of here?
Nope. Just make sure to tune in for the Sabotage mock draft. It's always a fun time. We split it up into 2 days, so it's not too long and boring because it can take a little while once you get hit with that sabotage. So definitely tune in. It's a fun time, and it gives you a lot of different variations of a mock. With the sabotage, it's very hard for all four of us to have the same mock draft. So there'll definitely be some different opinions, and you'll see all sorts of players going different places.
Let's ask Ron if he's got anything to say to the Heckling Fan before we get out of here. Thank you, Ron.
It's good you do that, or else I think the listeners would have forgotten what he looks like.
I know. They really need just an update of what he looks like. And with that, guys, good night.